During World War II, Marine Willard Russell serves in the Solomon Islands, where he stumbles upon a horrific sight. Gunnery Sergeant Miller Jones, barely alive, skinned and crucified by enemy forces. Overcome with horror and pity, Willard puts an end to Jones' suffering with a single gunshot to the head. This moment leaves a permanent mark on Willard's soul, shaping his belief that sacrifice and devotion can change the course of fate. After the war, he makes his way home to Coal Creek, West Virginia, passing through the small town of Meade, Ohio. There, he meets Charlotte, a kind-hearted waitress working at a roadside diner. The two fall in love, marry, and settle in Nuckamstiff, Ohio, where they start a new chapter of their lives and welcome a son, Arvin. In 1950, in another part of the state, Helen Hatton, a deeply religious young woman, marries Roy Lafferty, an eccentric, mesmerizing evangelical preacher. Roy's fiery sermons include bizarre acts of faith, such as pouring venomous spiders over his head to prove God's protection. However, after suffering a severe allergic reaction to a spider bite, Roy's grasp on reality begins to slip. Convinced that he has been given the divine power to resurrect the dead, Roy tests his faith in the most horrifying way. By murdering Helen, expecting her to rise again. When she does not, he is faced with the crushing realization of his mistake. Consumed with guilt and fear, Roy flees, hoping to one day return for their infant daughter, Lenora. Roy's desperate escape leads him to hitchhike across the countryside, where he is picked up by Carl and Sandy Henderson, a seemingly ordinary married couple with a deadly secret. The Hendersons have a horrifying ritual. They pick up male hitchhikers, coerce them into intimate encounters with Sandy, while Carl takes photographs, and then kill them. When Roy refuses to participate in their twisted game, Carl coldly shoots him, adding yet another victim to their gruesome collection. By 1957, Charlotte receives devastating news. She has cancer. Willard, still holding on to his belief that sacrifice can sway fate, turns to fervent prayer, hoping to bargain with God. Desperate, he even sacrifices the family dog at the rustic wooden cross he built in the woods behind their house. But his prayers go unanswered, and Charlotte succumbs to her illness. Shattered by grief, Willard takes his own life, leaving young Arvin orphaned. Arvin is sent to live with his grandmother Emma, who is now also caring for Lenora, Roy and Helen's daughter, raising the two as step-siblings. Fast forward to 1965. Arvin, now a teenager, receives his father's Luger pistol as a birthday gift. Meanwhile, the town welcomes a new preacher, Reverend Preston Teagarden. Despite his seemingly righteous exterior, Preston harbors dark and predatory tendencies. Lenora, often bullied at school, finds comfort in the Reverend's presence, but he exploits her vulnerability and manipulates her into an abusive relationship. When Lenora later reveals that she is pregnant, Preston cruelly blames her and dismisses her, claiming she has sinned. Devastated, she prepares to end her own life. But at the last moment, she has a change of heart. Tragically, as she attempts to remove the noose, she slips and falls to her death. The town believes it was a suicide of shame, but Arvin, devastated by the loss of his beloved stepsister, begins to suspect the truth. Determined to seek justice, Arvin spies on Preston and watches his interactions closely. Eventually, he confronts the preacher in the church, accusing him of his crimes before executing him with the Luger. Knowing he can't stay, Arvin flees town, hitchhiking his way to safety. His journey takes a dangerous turn when he's picked up by none other than Carl and Sandy Henderson. Carl, eager to enact his usual twisted ritual, encourages Arvin to participate. But Arvin, sensing the danger, quickly turns the tables and shoots both Carl and Sandy, defending himself. Searching their car, he uncovers their grotesque stash of photographs, evidence of their long history of murders. Meanwhile, Sandy's brother, Sheriff Lee Bodecker, catches wind of his sister's murder. A corrupt cop with a vested interest in keeping his reputation clean. Lee destroys Carl's secret collection of evidence to cover up his sister's crimes. However, when he learns that Arvin was the one who killed Preston, he decides to track him down, hoping to eliminate any loose ends that could ruin his upcoming re-election campaign. Arvin, returning to Mead to visit his childhood home, unknowingly walks into a deadly trap. In the woods near his father's rustic cross, he comes face to face with Sheriff Bodecker. Both men armed, Lee with a shotgun, Arvin with the Luger. A tense standoff erupts into gunfire, and Arvin ultimately lands the fatal shot, leaving the corrupt sheriff to bleed out. Before leaving, Arvin places the damning photographs next to Lee's body, ensuring the truth will eventually come to light. Once again on the run, Arvin hitchhikes, catching a ride with a hippie in a Volkswagen van. As he stares out the window, his mind swirls with uncertainty. He imagines different futures. Could he find love and start a family? Or would he follow in his father's footsteps and become a soldier, heading into the looming Vietnam War? As the road stretches ahead, Arvin's fate remains unknown.